What's going on, guys? My name is Rising, and welcome back to another gun guide for Call of Duty Mobile. This is the series where we focus on the in-depth breakdowns, tips, builds, and class setups for every single weapon in Call of Duty Mobile's multiplayer. And today will be the final gun guide for this season, covering one of the most straightforward guns in the game, which also received a small but significant buff this season, the EM2 assault rifle.
First appeared in Black Ops Cold War, the EM2 is a prototype bullpup assault rifle with an integrated sight, briefly adopted by British forces in 1951. Initially chambered in 280 British rounds, the EM2 was later discontinued during Winston Churchill's incoming government in an effort to secure NATO standardization of small arms and ammunition, claiming 280 British rounds being too weak for use in rifles, and instead favored the much more powerful 7.62 NATO rounds. Pretty understandable why we never sought its inclusion in any other COD title. However, coming back to mobile, the EM2 is a 3 to 5 shot kill weapon, dealing 36 damage up close and dropping to 24 at longer ranges. It features a 1.4 times multiplier to the head and a 1.1 times to the upper torso, which after the buff also extends to the lower arms. This means that up close you can achieve a 2-shot kill if both of your shots land to the head, which is extremely rewarding. Upper torso and lower arm shots do not help in the maximum damage range. However, in the medium damage range, you can stretch your 3-shot potential by hitting at least 2 shots in those multipliers, which is not so difficult. The rate of fire is very slow for an assault rifle at 536 rounds per minute. This means that your 3-shot time to kill will be 224 milliseconds. However, beyond that, it rises up by 112 milliseconds for each extra shot required. And its slow rate of fire also makes missing shots very punishing, so you must be very precise in using this weapon. However, if you're lucky enough, you can achieve a 2-shot 112 millisecond time to kill to the head in the maximum damage range, which is highly rewarding. So your best interest should lie in aiming for the upper body while using the EM2 so that you can extend your 3-shot potential up to the 2nd damage range. And speaking of ranges, its bullet velocity is slightly slower for an assault rifle at 800 meters per second. This means your hit scan range is 40 meters, beyond which you'll definitely note its effect unless you boost your velocity. And since it is a Cold War weapon, it features the Cold War gunsmith system with quite interesting barrel attachments.
I've listed down all the barrels that we have access to for the EM2. The first barrel improves our handling and mobility at the cost of reduced range and velocity, and so you better off stay far away from this attachment. The second barrel improves our ranges by 30% and our velocity by a massive 70%, meaning our new hit scan range becoming 68 meters, which is pure overkill in standard 5v5 multiplayer maps. Although the range improvement is quite significant, so you may be wanting to use this barrel instead. The third barrel only improves our velocity by 40% without changing its range profile. This means our new hit scan range becomes 56 meters, which is fine for your standard engagements.
But that's not its only upsides. This barrel has a massive effect on our damage multipliers, now having a 1.5 times to the head, 1.2 times to the upper torso and lower arms, and 1.1 times to the upper arms. Although the head multiplier effects are same as before, now you can extend your 3-shot range by landing just a single shot to the upper torso or lower arms, which is much easier and very practical in your standard gunfights. Although I'd be a little happier if it covered the upper arms as well, but hey, let's just appreciate that the devs actually thought about the EM2 and gave it a small but significant buff. In my eyes at least, this barrel is much more practical than the last one.
But how does it compare to similar weapons in its category? As we can see, the EM2 is one of the 3 weapons which has a guaranteed 3-shot kill phase, unlike the AK-47 and the DRH. However, if we include the potential shots to kill for them, now we see that the EM2 has the 2nd slowest time to kill, just beating the Man of War. And you can never boost its range profile unless you use the Ranger barrel, in which case you'll lose on the potential lethality benefits of the Task Force barrel. Thus, the EM2 is the most unique out of all the other weapons mentioned here. It is also worth mentioning that the EM2 is the only non-hit scan weapon among them, and comparing it with other top-tier options, the EM2 does have a competitive performance in the maximum damage range, which you can extend up to the 2nd damage range if you have good precision.
As for its accuracy, the aim-down sight spread is very tight for an assault rifle.
However, its hipfire spread is not so good, thus you shouldn't rely on hipfiring too often apart from point blank. Its hit flinch is standard for an assault rifle, although its bullet impact being above AR standards, and for its recoil, the EM2 performs great in this department. The gun kicks up towards the left with little to no kick between your shots. This makes the EM2 laser accurate at longer ranges. The base aim down sight is slow at 260 milliseconds, although its sprint out time being slightly on the better side.
However, for its mobility, the EM2 falls behind heavily in this department. This indicates that the gun is meant to be used for a bit passive playstyle. The magazine capacity is also lower than AR standards at 20 rounds and 80 in reserve. The reload times are also very slow at 1.43 seconds for its tactical reload and 1.61 seconds for its empty reload. Even with such a slow rate of fire, you may burn your ammo very quickly in most gunfights, so you should keep the slower reload in mind before reloading. And for its last base stats, we have its material penetration, which is pretty standard for an assault rifle. You can improve it with FMJ, but I'd suggest using some other important attachment instead.
And with that, we've covered all of its base stats as well as its important barrel attachments. And now is the time to see how to build the weapon effectively. We start with the agency suppressor for concealment, the 25.8-inch task force barrel to improve its bullet velocity and lethality, YKM light stock to improve strafing and sprint out time, sturdy grip tape for a faster aim down sight and better flinch resistance, and finally, we top this off with the 30-round extended mag. Sometimes I also prefer using the Striker foregrip instead of the stock for better overall mobility. You can also swap out the rear grip for an optic of preference if you find the integrated optic too obstructive.
With this build, we have improved our handling, bullet velocity, and flinch resistance, with only slight recoil downsides. Our new hit scan range is now 52.8 meters, which is fine for most encounters. And comparing it with other top-tier weapons, we see that the EM2 does have a very slight competitive edge, although it is barely noticeable. And always remember to aim high so that you can stretch out your potential 3-shot range.
Here's all of the stat changes with this build. As mentioned earlier, our handling is nicely improved. However, our hipfire spread is worsened even more, and you should not be wanting to hipfire all the time. Although our recoil is increased, it is still very easy to control, and you shouldn't be finding too much difficulty controlling it. As for an example class setup, for respawns we have a knife as our secondary to run around the map. We have the perk Greed Red as our wildcard, allowing us to carry 2 red perks, where we have Flak Jacket and Dauntless. And for the other 2 perks, we have Quick Fix and Hardline. For the lethal equipment, we have a Contact Nade, and for the tactical, we have a trophy system. Operator skills and score streaks can be chosen as preference. For Search and Destroy, once again, we're using a melee as our secondary. We have a frag as our lethal and a stim as our tactical. The perks remain the same apart from using Dead Silence in the blue perk slot. Also, we're using Restock to cycle through our throwables.
And with that is going to wrap it up on the gun guide for the newly buffed EM2. As for my thoughts on the weapon, I feel like it's quite underrated. I really like its 3-shot potential beyond the maximum damage range, and also the fact that you don't lose out on mobility at all while building it. In saying so, I still feel like the DRH is straight up a better option, and even the ASM-10 with the Branson barrel is great as well. As for a weapon, the EM2 is in a pretty balanced state. However, with better existing options, I do not see myself using the gun so often. But don't get me wrong, the EM2 is a very good off-meta option, and I'd highly suggest you to give it a shot. And remember to aim high as often as possible.
But of course, those were just my thoughts on the EM2. Now I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think of this weapon? Do you think the gun is underrated, or you'd like to receive some more buffs to it? Just let your thoughts in the comment section down below. The new season is about to drop when this video gets uploaded, and I do have some interesting video ideas in mind for the next season. I promise you it won't be all gun guides throughout the season, and we'll try to bring variety content on the channel. So if you have any other video idea in mind, let me know down below. Join my Discord server to gain access to all of my recommended builds for all of the weapons in the game, as well as other analysis which I've done. Make sure to subscribe, comment down something nice, and leave a like on this video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.